Okay, I guess we can proceed. Let me begin by sharing to you the outline. We are going to we are going to work on database management using Microsoft Access like we did yesterday. We are going to work with Excel, that is data analysis using Excel like we did yesterday, but with a different use case or with a different example. We are going to work on web development, HTML and CSS. Yesterday we did not do CSS, but today we are going to add CSS. I'm going to work on C programming using Dev C++. Without much time, let's begin. Yes, here is a sample project we're going to use data management using Microsoft Access. We're going to work on a library management system. First of all, when you hear a library management system, what comes into your mind? You need to understand the kind of system that we want to be a database for. It is like a database for a library, a particular library. Maybe it is your school library or it's just a standalone library at the street, or I don't know, any kind of library. They might want a system, they record all the books they have. Every book that they have in the library, maybe they want to record it. Also, people come and borrow books. They might also want to have records of everyone who borrows books, this and that. Is the library is that is management, or like managing the things that are being done in the library, from buying and selling books to borrowing books to reading. People are entering to read, need to be registered, just like that. We're just going to do a very simple library management system. We'll not go bulky, but we'll try to make sure that we touch at least important features in the Microsoft Access tool. We're going to have we're going to build three tables in this system. A table where we'll record all the available books in the library. A table where we're going to record member, every library member. To be able to go to a library and be reading books, you need to register and have your membership card. That is how it is normally done. But in some schools, in most schools, like secondary schools or in primary schools, so if primary schools that have library, they don't have membership card. Use your school ID, but you must be registered. And we are going to use this table for that to store the records of registered members or students. In this case, we are going to just focus on borrowing. People are borrowing books from the library, and for them, we are going to create a table. Sorry, a table which is going to store records of members who are borrowing. Okay, the books table is going to have a book ID, the title, the author, the journal, availability. The book ID is just the primary key to uniquely identify the book. The title is the title of the book. The author, the person who wrote the book. The journal, what kind of book is it? And then the availability, is the book available or not? Then for members, we are just going to store members' name and their contact. Here we are going to use phone number. Yesterday we used email. Each member has an ID, which is going to be their primary key. Borrowing table. Looking at the borrowing table, I'm going to just when a member borrows, what we'll simply do is we'll take his ID. From his ID, we are going to know who borrowed, and then the book ID. From the book ID, we are going to know which book he borrowed, and then we will register the date that he borrowed that book, and then we are going to also write down the return date, the expected return date, which day did he tell us that he will return the book. And we're going to perform queries on this data set. Okay, without much time, let's begin with creating a database. First of all, when you open the Microsoft Access app, this is what you see. To create a database, by default, you select the blank database by just clicking on it, and they will prompt you to put the file name, to input the file name. Here, well, the file name is going to be library management system, since as we are creating the database or a library management system. And I'll always advise you, same way I said the same thing I said yesterday. I'll always advise that make sure you select where you are saving. It's always even written as one of the instructions in your GCE, the GCE script. You should always make sure you select where you are saving. And where you are saving, it should not be in a place that is too difficult to find. Currently, my window is in French, but I'll say it in English. So for those who might find it difficult in reading what you are seeing here in French, I always advise either you save it in your desktop or you save it in your documents. If it is in the mock examination or in the GCE examination, you have to save it in the desktop. But if it is just your work that you're working, you can save it anywhere. The documents is normal way because this is a document, so you can save it in your document. But now I'm going to save it in the desktop. I'm going to follow the way we do it when we are doing the mock examination. And when you're there, you have to create a new folder, nouveau dossier, and then the name of the folder is always your registration number. But I'm just going to write revision 2. This is the name of the file, library management system. The file type is Microsoft Access 2007 to 2016 databases. Doesn't matter for now, we just leave it as default. And now we can save. Then we now create the database. Okay, now let's go on. Let's proceed for creating and populating our tables with data. Our first table is going to be the books table. We're just going to name it books. Initially, when you create a new database, a table is created and by default it is named table 1. But we are going to change it. To change it, you can right click here and go to rename. Yes, but I'll just go to design view for now. Design view is where we are going to design the table. Designing the table as in, that is where we are going to put the various columns. Looking here, we have 5 columns. That is where we are going to set the various columns and the various data types of the column. Talking about data types, every entity, every attribute is just a column, but it's better to use attribute. We use the term attribute when you are working with databases. Every attribute has a data type, and that is a data type that tells you the validity of the data. For instance, looking at book ID, what is the data type of book ID? Number. If I come and put something like Joe, a name here, let me say Joe, it is going to display an error. Why? Because Joe is not a number. Book ID must be a number. Title must be a text. Author must be a text. All authors are text. Genre means the kind of book must be a text or a short text. Because you have short text and you have long text. Long text is like a whole paragraph. A short text is just this kind of text. You have availability. Well, you might say it is a text, but I will not say it's a text. I will say it is well, it depends. We can call it yes or no, as well as we can say boolean, true or false. But you know what? We are going to use yes or no. We are not going to use true or false. Okay, let's go ahead signing the book table. The book table has the book ID, the title, the author, the genre, and the availability of the book. To do that, you go to the design view. To go to the design view, you come here to view. You see design view. We are currently in a data sheet view. Data sheet view where the data is being displayed in a tabular form. But we are going to go to the design view. Here we are prompted to save the table. And we save it as books. Now we are in the design view. This is where we are going to input the columns and then the data type. You might also need to write a description in this place, in this cell, if required. We're going to change the first few name. By default, we have been given a few named ID and which data type is autonumber. Autonumber means you don't need to put a number. It automatically counts 0, 1, 2, 3 by itself. You don't need to input any data. We are going to change all of it. We don't need autonumber. And if you look very well, you'll take note that there is something like a key at the beginning of this row. That indicates that this row is the primary key. ID is a primary key. Another way for you to notice it is here. You see that this is selected. The primary key here is selected. That tells you that the ID is a primary key. Okay. I'm going to change the name from ID to book ID. And I'm going to change the data type to number. It has a name, a title, sorry. Every book has a title. The title is a text, short text. It has the author, also a text, a short text. You have the journal, also a short text. You have the availability. So I'm going to use yes or no. Here are various data types. Short text is for short, a simple text. Long text is for a paragraph. Number is for all kinds of number. Large number is for a very large number like trillion, 7 trillion, 10 trillion. Lookup wizard means you want to also define your own data type. Okay, I think that is good to go. Yesterday, while I was working, someone asked me, say, how can we put the primary key? Well, to put it, we come to the left and we select whatever field, whatever record you want to make as primary key, and then we come to the menu, the tab menu, and we just simply look at the tab menu. You are going to find primary key, and you simply select it. Look, it is selected. If I select another record and I click primary key, I can make multiple records as a primary key by simply clicking on one, pressing on Control, and clicking on the other. You see the two records are selected. Now I can click on primary key, and the two are now set as primary key. That is in the case where you need a composite key. Double primary keys will become one primary key. The composite key is when you use two primary keys as one primary key. I've set the book ID as the primary key by default. Now quickly we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and fill the other tables. Go back to the data sheet. I need to save first. Okay, save, and that is it. Now let's create a new table. To create a new table, you go to create. Let me explain these tabs. We have the home tab. The home tab is where you have text formatting. You want the text to be bold, whatsoever text formatting. You can also find, maybe you want to find a particular text. You want to search for a particular person just to find him. You can sort in ascending order, sort in descending order. You can pick spellings, this and that. All of this is in the home. Create is where you create whatsoever you want to create. You can create a table, you can create a query, you can create a form, you can create a report. External data, this is where you import whatsoever maybe you want to you design a table in an Excel sheet and you want to import the data from there, or you can as well export the database into an Excel sheet. Database tools are, for example, you have relationships. That is how are the various tables related. I'm going to see that in future. We go to create, go to table, and we go to design view. We save this as members. Let's go to the members table. Members table has a members ID, a name, and a contact. Just 3 columns. Let's go ahead and create it. Now looking at the borrowing table has a borrow ID, a member ID, a book ID, and then a borrow date and a return date. Let's go ahead and create it. Okay, now we are done. Let's go ahead filling in the tables with data. I think that is it with the tables. We are done filling the tables. Let's proceed with our tasks. Let's try to answer all the tasks. Our first task is to establish the relationships between these tables. We have a member ID in the members table and a book ID in the book table. Okay, I'm going to explain it to you. Looking here, you're going to see that in the borrowing table, we have a member ID and the book ID. but the member ID is from the member table and the book ID is from the book table. That tells us that the members table and the books table are related, and this the relationship is through borrowing. A member and is related to a book through his borrowing. Okay, I'll explain when we get there. Let's create the relationship. While creating the relationship, I'm going to explain. To create a relationship, we go to database tools, as I said earlier, and we're going to find relationships. We click on it. It's going to open a new tab, and at the rightmost corner, we are going to find add tables, where we are going to see all the tables that we have. We want to add all. In order to add all, we click on the first one. We hold the shift button on your keyboard, and we click on the last one. That is just the easiest method. Another method is to click on one, you hold the control key or the control button on your keyboard, you click on the other, you click on the other, just like that. If you want to unselect, you just click on it. You want to select while still holding the control key. But imagine it is a very long list. The fastest way is to press the shift key. To hold the shift key, you click on the first and then you click on the last. At the bottom, at the rightmost bottom, you will see add selected tables. Click on it and the tables are added. You have books, you have borrowings, and we have members. Okay, now we are going to create a relationship. We're going to create the relationship between the books and borrowing. This is how it goes. Looking at the borrowing scenario, a member can borrow many books, but also one book can be borrowed by many members, not at one time, different times. Let me say member A borrowed the book, came and returned it. Then member C came and borrowed it later. He returned it. Then member X came and borrowed it again. Then member A came back and saw the book was interesting and borrowed it again. You see, one book can be borrowed by many members, as well as one member can borrow many books. And looking at that, you see that it becomes a many to many relationship. And as soon as it's a many to many relationship, we now have to create a new entity for that relationship. And that entity is called borrowing. And in the borrowing entity, we are now going to use the primary keys of the two table, primary key of the books table, primary key of the members table. And these primary keys are the foreign keys in the borrowing table. Why are they foreign keys? They are foreign keys because they are primary keys in other tables, but they are found in the borrowing table. So they are foreigners in the borrowing table. Now, now that we have created the borrowing table, let us relate this books table with the borrowing table. One book can have many borrowing details many times. And if one book can borrow many times, that means one book can have many borrowing details or many borrowing records. And if one book can have many borrowing records, therefore it is a one to many relationship. But one borrowing record cannot go to many books. It's not possible. A record is for the borrowing. If Alice Doe borrowed instruction to programming on a Thursday and then returned it on Friday, and then the book was so interesting that she came back the next week on Tuesday and borrowed it again, it's a different borrow record. It is not the same borrow record. Why? It even has different dates. It's not the same. It even has different dates. Even though it's the same member and the same book, but it has a different borrow ID and it has a different date. That's what I mean by one borrowing record can only go to one book. One borrowing record cannot be for many books. One borrowing record only go to one book. But one book can have many borrowing records. So it is only a one to many relationship. Same thing applies here. One member can have many borrowing records because he can borrow many times. He can borrow today, go and come back and borrow next week, just like that. And each time he borrows, a record is created. But that record that is created only belongs to one member. The record that is created cannot go to many members. You understand? So it is a one to many here and a one to many here. Okay, let's go ahead and create the relationship. To do that, looking at the tabs at the top at the left, you're going to see the very first thing you see is edit relationship. You click on it and you're going to see the relationship wizard where you will what you should do here is that you come below and you see a create new. You select the create new. This borrowing table has book ID and has member ID. So we are trying to link this book ID back to where it is from and this member ID back to where it is from, and that's how the relationship is created. And therefore, since it is from here, this is going to be the left table and this is going to be the right table. In this other scenario, this is going to be the left table and this is going to be the right table, just like that, because it is from this table. Let's go back and edit the relationship. We create a new table. The left table is the books table, the right table is the borrowing table. The left column name, we are matching the book ID from the books table with the book ID from the borrowing table. We click on OK. Default it is one to many relationship. Now we click on create. A one to many relationship has been created, as you can see. Now let's do same. Edit relationships, create new. This time we are going to select the members table and the borrowing table. Member ID and member ID. Click on OK. Then click on create. And there we go. And we are done. We are done with the relationship. We have already created the relationship. Linking book ID with book ID here and member ID with member ID here. That's all about the relationship. Create a query to list borrowed books. What do you understand by, first of all, what is a query? A query is a way of extracting data from a database. You write a query to extract data from a database, or you create a query to extract data from a database. Maybe you want to know all the registered people, all the registered members. How do you get all registered members? By creating a query. Create a query to get registered members. How do you get people who have borrowed books? As members who have borrowed books, by creating a query. In this case, we want to create a query to list the borrowed books. So we want to get all borrowed books. Only borrowed books. That's what we want to get. It's precise. It should be precise. You should understand the statement very well. Create a query to list borrowing books. List borrowed books. List borrowed books. We want to list the borrowed books. We want to list the borrowed books. And if you want to list the borrowed books, what do you want to see? First of all, you want to see the book ID. The book ID has to be there. Secondly, you want to see the title. Very important, because that's what you want to see, the title. You might want to see the author, but it's not really necessary at the moment. We don't need the author. We just want to see the borrowed books. We don't need the genre. We don't need it at all. We don't need the availability. Just the fact that it is borrowed, it means it is not available. We don't need the member who borrowed the book. We don't need we don't need to see the member who borrowed the book. We just want to see the books that are being borrowed. Yeah, we might want to see the date where the book was borrowed, and we might want to see the return date. It's up to you. If you put it, it is not a problem. You can put it. It is up to you. After all, it gives more information. But if you don't put it, it is still okay, because we just want to see borrowed books. Okay, let's go ahead and create that query. In order for us to create it, we go to create and we go to query design. You can go to query wizard, but let's just go to query design. Now we import all the tables that are related to books and borrowing. Why? We want to create a query for borrowed books. Borrowed books. Therefore, we need to get data from all the tables that are related to books and borrowing. And as I said earlier, we don't need any detail concerning the member. We don't need anything concerning the member. All we want to know is a book that was borrowed. So therefore, we are just going to input just the books and the borrowing. Those are the two things we need. Select the book table, click on Control or Shift, select the borrowing table, click on Add Selected Tables at the bottom, and you will see the relationship is still there. It is forever there, cannot be broken. Whatsoever data we want to get them from these tables. But what do we want to get actually? First of all, we need the book ID. We need the book title. Those are the two things we need: book ID and book title. But if we just put book ID and book title, it will display what is the proof to show that that book is borrowed. Well, it is through the availability. It's through the availability that you are going to know whether the book is borrowed or not. If the availability is a yes, then it is not borrowed. If the availability is a no, then it is borrowed. Simple. Therefore, we are going to need these three fields: book ID, book title, and availability. But recall, I earlier said that we don't need to see the availability. Why? Because just the fact that it is borrowed, it means it is not available. The availability should by default be no. So it's not really important for us to see. But even though we don't need to see, we need it. We need it to be able to know the books that are being borrowed. When we said that if the availability of the books should be a no, therefore if the availability of the books is a no, therefore the book is borrowed. That is how we are going to use to know that the book is borrowed if the availability is a no. But we are not going to allow the availability to be displayed when the user is getting the data. Okay, let's go back to access. Looking at the bottom, this is where we set whatsoever fields or columns you want to be displayed in the table, whether displayed or not, whatever columns we are going to use from these tables. This is where we set it. The first column, which is important, is the book ID. You see that you'll see many columns. All of these columns, you see, you look. If you want to take a look, you are going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These 12, you see books dot star, books dot book ID, books dot title. You see all of it is from the books table and from the borrowings table. You also see borrowings dot star, borrowings dot ID, borrowings dot member ID. Books dot star simply means that you want to get every column. That is book ID, title, author, genre, availability, everything. As well as borrowing dot star, which is the same as here star. It means you want to get everything. But we don't want everything. We just want the book ID, the title, availability, and any other thing we might want. Let's select book ID. Book ID first. And we are going to the next field is the next thing is to select a table. Automatically it has selected a table for us. It's from the book table. Now the next thing is sort. Are we going to sort it? Yes, let's just sort it to be visually appealing or to be well organized. We sort it in ascending order. Now, should it be shown to the user, who is creating the query, who needs the data? Yes, it should be shown. So we select show. Any criteria? No, we have no criteria. Now, the next field we want is the book title. From the books table, we don't need to sort it because we are already sorting based on the book ID. Yes, we need it to show. No criteria. The next thing is the availability. Books availability. From the books table, ascend to sort it. No, we don't need to sort it. But we don't want it to show. We don't want it to show. It doesn't need to be shown. A criteria, it has a criteria. It must have the availability of no. It should not be yes. Now availability can either be yes or no. As seen here. Availability can either be a yes or a no. Now, if it is a no, it means the book is borrowed. If it is a yes, it means it is still available and it's not borrowed. Therefore, we are going to set the criteria as a no. It must be a no. Okay, what other columns should we add? These are the only three columns we mostly need. Let's just add these two for fancy. Okay, that is good. Now, in order for us to view, to say, to, we have created a query, but we need to run it for the query to be executed. It's like a program, but this is a graphical method of doing it. There is a coding method where we use SQL. SQL is a type of programming language. You know the various types of programming language I taught you, types of high-level programming languages. SQL is one of them. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and this is the default way in which we create queries. It is because it is fast. It is you can create complex queries with it in little or no time, but not everyone does programming. Therefore, we use this way, a design way. Now that we have designed it, go to the query design tab. We click on run, and here it is. You see, it shows us it's just one record, just one book has been borrowed, and that book is Introduction to Programming with book ID 102. Let's go and check. Go to the books table, and if you look out of the 3 books, only one is not available, just one, and it is Introduction to Programming with book ID 102. Let's go back to the query. This is the query. We have gotten in the list of borrowed books where we see the book ID, the book title, the borrow date, and the date it will be returned. And that is it for creation of queries. We are told to design a form for adding new members. You can still be told to design form for filling the database. If that is the case, you have to create a form for every table. But here they only told us a form for adding new members. Therefore, we create a form only for the members table. Using a form is an easy way to add data. Initially, we were typing all of this thing one by one, but it is somehow becomes somehow complex given that we need to feed in a wide variety. Imagine we need to feed in like 1,000 records in this table. So writing it one by one is so consuming. Yeah, the fastest way is to use a form. In order to create a form, you go to the table of which you want to create a form. We want to create a form for members, so we go to the members table. Then we go to the create tab, and then you see form. You can create form design, you can browse form wizard. Let's just go to click on form, create form. You see a form has been created. By default, you see there is Alice, all Alice details are there already. And it tells you that Alice had borrowed a book. And this is Alice detail. We can edit the detail. We can just edit it by clicking. If I change a number, it will be, I cannot change it now because we are in view. We are in a form view. We are in a layout view. We need to go to form view to be able to edit. If I change the data will be reflected here. No, sorry. It will be reflected here in the members table. Below here at the bottom, this is where you can switch between records. Currently, we have just 2 members, Alice and Bob, and we are in the record of the first member, Alice. If you want to go to the second member, at the bottom of the form, you see a navigation panel with arrows. Let's go to the next record. We're in Bob's record. We can edit Bob's details. There are just 2. So if you go to the next, we are just going to say blank, and we can add. Let's say let's add 203, and let's name him John Smith. No, let's say he had borrowed. What book did he borrow? Let's say let's give him a borrow ID of 302 because the borrow ID of 301 already exists. And let's say he borrowed book 101. Yes. And when did he borrow? Let's say today. And when will he return? Let's say tomorrow. Now we are told to generate a report of all currently borrowed books. Initially, we created a query for all borrowed books. In order to generate a report, we need to first of all extract the data. When we extract the data, we now print it out in a report form. But how do we extract the data? By creating a query. But we already created a query for all borrowed books. Looking at it here, you see, create a query to list borrowed books. We already created that query, which lists all borrowed books, which is already good. Now, we are just going to generate a report using that query we created, because all we need for the report is all borrowed books. Okay, to do that, let's head back to access. We are going to go to the query. This is the query which had all borrowed books. While we are in the query, it is selected, we are in the query. We go to create. We go to create a report. Yes, we have to save the query. How do you want to save it? We can save it as borrowed books. Okay. Now the report has been created. A report of borrowed books. Okay. And that is it. Now looking at the leftmost corner, you will see that we have all the tables. We have books, borrowings, members. We have the query borrowed books. We have the report for borrowed books. And that is all we need. And we have our relationship as well. It is from the relationships that we are able to create the query, because it is from them that we are able to know that these books were borrowed by this person and that person. You know what? Let's modify it. Let's modify this query. This query for borrowed books. Let's modify it. Go to the design view. Let's add the person who borrowed the book. I'm going to insert member name. And to do that, we have to insert a member table. Add selected table. Let's insert the member name. Let's run the query. Let us generate a new report. We save it as borrowed books. Let's delete this old report. Now we save. Let's save this, and there we go. Okay, that is all for database management. We are done with database management. Now we move to the next, data analysis. Here we are going to analyze data for monthly sales. Let's open Excel and feed in with this data. When you open Excel, initially this is how it looks like. You click on the blank workbook or workspace or worksheet. This is how it looks like. Now let us fill in, populate it with the data. We have products. We start with the heading. We have products. Then we have January, February, and March. Total sales, profit, margin, in percentage. Product, January, February, March, total sales, profit, margin. Let's create the various columns. Let's do some modification on styling. Make all the headings to be bold. We centralize all the headings, and then I think let us add border to make it look like a table. Now let's populate with the data. We have laptops, we have laptop, we have phone, we have tablet. How many laptops were sold in January? 50. How many phones? 100. How many tablets? 30. So let's just fill data quickly. 50, 100, and 30. And that's it. Now you see we need to calculate the total sales per month of each item. Sorry, for the 3 months of each item. Total sales of laptop for January, February, and March, and then we calculate the profit margin. That is how much profit we have. Okay, let's go ahead answering the task. Calculate the total sales for each product using sum. To do that, we are already told that we use sum. Even without it told, just using your common sense, you just know that to get the total, you have to sum. Let's go ahead and calculate the total sales. Now, what are we summing? We are summing the total sales of laptop for the months of January, February, and March. But how do we sum it? Are we going to use our heads? No. Why should we use our heads? Excel has built-in functions for that, so we don't need to stress. Before that, let me explain to you how Excel navigation works. The primary purpose of Microsoft Excel is for data analysis. That is the primary purpose of Microsoft Excel. To analyze data, generate graph to be able to visualize the data, this and that. And looking above at the top, you will see how can I call it, like a toolbar. You see the toolbar, and in this toolbar at the top you see different tabs where you can navigate the different toolbar options. Home shows just focuses on just almost the same with like access, but somewhat different. We can manage our font, our typographic styles, we can manage our alignment, centralize at the edge, justify, you can wrap the text, you can merge cells, you can styles, format styles, insert cells, delete cells, search, format, filter, and so on. The insert tab, this is where you insert whatever you want to insert, maybe photos, shapes, icons, smart art, 3D models, charts, and whatsoever, text box, anything you want to insert, even objects. Inserting an object means inserting another document. It can be PDF, it can be Microsoft Word, it can be Access, it can be from the database we just created using Access, the library management system. Page layout is how you want the page to be structured. Formulas, this is where all the mathematics is being performed. Anything concerning mathematics. Now data, this focuses on the formatting of data. It's almost similar to Access, how we specify the data types, how data should be verified, how it should be validated. Everything is here. Well, review is just reviews on the document, and view is how you just accessibility and so on. In order for it to perform any mathematical operation, who can guess where we need to go to? Of course, formulas. We go to the formula tab and we see a variety of formulas. You have auto sum, you have sum, you have average, you have count, numbers, you have this is sum, which is what we want. But I'm going to show you another way so that if what you want is not here, you can, well, that is it, go to more functions. Or another way is clicking insert function. Exactly the same. We want the sum. You can click sum, or you can come here and search. You want to add two numbers. Let me say add numbers. You describe whatever you want. Click on go. You're going to show you all the functions that you can use, all the mathematical functions that you can use to add numbers. You have dsum, imsum, and you have sum. We just want sum. And what do we want to sum? We want to sum from 50 to 55. Sum the total sales of laptops from January to March. January, February, and March. 50 is in row 2 and column B, so B2, column B and row 2. So 50 is at cell B2, 60 is at cell C2, 55 is at cell G2. Now, that is how we are going to use to specify. We're not going to write 50, 60, no. We're just going to write by the cells instead. We're going to specify the cell B2 plus cell C2 plus cell D2. That is it. But there is a short way in writing it. Rather than writing cell C2 plus cell B2 plus cell G2, we just write B2 colon D2. B2 colon D2, which means from B2 to D2. That is how we write it. Or you can use B2 comma C2 comma D2 if you want to list everything. But if it's a range, the shortest way to do it is just to say B2 colon D2. As you can see here, sum B2 colon D2. Okay, see, it gives us the answer 165. Now to apply it to these other rows, what we simply do is we click on the cell on the answer, and we just at the right bottom of the cell, you see a full stop. Hold that click on that full stop and you drag down, and then you leave it. See, the formula automatically applies to all the other records. you use a calculator and add these cells, it's going to give you exactly 105. Let's try it. 30 plus 40 plus 35 equal to 105. You see that the formula works well. You know what? We're going to change it from profits to average sale. Now, how do we get the average sale per month? What's the formula to calculate average in mathematics? The sum of all numbers divided by the total number of numbers. If there are three numbers, this is the sum of the three numbers divided by 3. If there are 9 numbers, it's the sum of the 9 numbers divided by 9. And that is it. Now, let's go ahead and calculate the average. And calculate the average from B2, which is B2, which is the total sales in January, total sales in February, total sales in March. Okay, from B2 to D2. Yes, the average is 55. Let's verify. 50 plus 60 plus 55 equals to 165. Now divided by 3, because there are 3 numbers, give us 55. Okay, we are good. Now, how do we do to apply it to the other rows? We do it by selecting it, then at the rightmost button, click and then we drag to wherever we want to end. And there we go. It is done. Now, I think we should add another field that will require logic. Okay, well, we should end there. Not much time. I was thinking about adding something related to logic. Well, it's necessary for me to add. Let me try to add something we need logic. There is not much time. We haven't got much time. But let me just add something we need logic. Let me say you know what? Let's say the price of a laptop is 100k, and the price of the phone is 50k, and the price of the tablet is 50k. Yeah, let's do like that. Add a new call it price, and then we add revenue generated. Okay, let's give it a bonus. Okay, in fact, give the whole table a bonus. Okay, the price of this is 100k. This is 50k, and this is 50k. Okay, now to calculate the revenue. Revenue is the total amount gained, the total amount entered. How much have you achieved from selling those things? We sold a total of these laptops in this month, a total of these laptops. So how much have we gained? Is this times the price, simply this times the price. Therefore, it is the product of these two, E2 and G2. The product of E2 and G2. Let's go ahead and do it. Go to formulas, Okay, we can't see product here, so go to more function and let's search for product. Voila, there we have it, product. You go. You want the product of E2, E2 and G2. Why do we use a comma rather than a colon? Well, this is because we don't want from E2 to G2. We want only E2 and G2. If we use a colon, we are going to get E2, F2, G2. But we only want E2 and G2. So we write, we want to select the list that you want, we just use a column to separate them. But if it's a long range, then, you just use a comma. If it's a long range, then you use a column. But yeah, we just want what we selected E2 and G2, therefore we use a comma. Okay. Let me see. Let me see. There's an error in the format. Mm, I don't want. Nope, I don't want like that. I just want A2 and G2. Mm, you know what? Let's get rid of the formula. Immediate product A2 G2. Okay, okay, that is it. Now let's apply it to the other records. We have gotten total revenue that he has attained per month. For the 3 months, sorry, for the 3 months in general. Now to get the profit, let's just assume that the profit he has made from January. What is the profit he has made from January? That one will be complicated getting the profit because we don't even know. Anyway, let's forget about that. And let's now add something conditional. Let's use what should we do? No, so let's add a remark. And let's say that if let's do a remark, and if we're going to set it in such a way that based on the revenue, if the revenue is greater than 100k, then let's say he has met up with his goal, or we can say goal achieved. If it is less than 100k, we say goal not achieved. Yes, let's do a conditional arranging. Now we go to formulas and insert a function. What kind of function? What kind of function? It's a conditional statement. And remember we said if, and if you are saying if, that means it's an if function we are going to use now. Go ahead and put the if function. Logical value. We are testing if h2 which is H2. Sorry, H2, not H3. If H2 is greater than 100k. If H2 is greater than 100k, if true, then oh sorry, it's supposed to be here. If H2 is greater than 100k, yes, the logical test. If true, or which it already tells us that it is true. If true, you print on what should we print? Goal goal achieved. If false, what should we print? Goal not achieved. Okay. It tells us goal achieved. Why? Because it is greater. Let me increase the size. It tells us goal achieved. Now let's populate. Let's make the formula to automatically go to all the other records. You know what? Let's not use 1 JK. It looks like all are above 1 JK. Let's open the formula. Let's not use 1 JK. Let's use mm, what did I write? Let's use 1 million. Yes. Let's then add 10. Let's use 1 million. If it's greater than 1 million, goal achieved. Else goal not achieved. Why does it look as if everything is okay? Let's upgrade it again. 1 million is too small. Let's upgrade it to 10 million. 10 million. Okay, at least one is not achieved. Voila, it's okay like that. This one is not up to 10 million, therefore goal not achieved. And let's end there for now. What if you want to add multiple if statements? What if you want to print that uh, what if you want that if it is less than 10 million but greater than 1 million, it should not tell us goal not achieved, but it should tell us you're meeting the goal or something. And then if it is less than 1 million, it tells us something else. Let's try. To do that, we need to add an if statement inside the existing if statement. You know what? Let's just copy the whole if statement. We copy all of it. Control C. And then inside the if statement, you'll see that it says if H4 is greater than 10 million, then let's print out goal achieved. Else, what should you do? Else, let's enter the other if statement. You should not just print out goal not achieved. Let's enter the other if statement. What should you do? You should print else if H4 is you know what I'm doing. Let's do it for H2 instead. Yes. Else we print it. Else if H2 else if H2 is greater than, we reduce it to 1 million. Is this 1 million? Let me see. Okay, yes, it's greater than 1 million. Then say, if you tell him, if you say goal, what should we say? Okay, let's say near to goal. Let's say near to goal. Else, let us now say goal not achieved. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. Well, it's going to print goal achieved and goal. Oh, sorry, I have to apply it to the other rows. Let's apply it to the other. Wow, okay, you see, it tells us near to goal. Why? It is greater than, this one is greater than 1 million. But let me put a number not greater than 1 million. Let me say 2,000 or 200. Now, if I apply it here, we have goal not achieved. Why? It's not greater than 1 million, as well as it is not greater than 10 million. It needs to be greater than 10 million for us to have goal achieved, and it needs to be greater than 1 million for us to have near to goal. But I'm going to remove this one. Okay, let's go to the next task. What does it tell us to do? It tells us to use conditional formatting to highlight products. Well, we cannot do anything with profit margin because we didn't complete anything concerning profit margin. Use conditional formatting to highlight products with a profit margin below 30%. Let's go ahead and do that. In order for us to use conditional formatting, we go to home. In home, you go to the section called styles. In the style section, we will click. In fact, before doing that, you need to select the whole table. Select the whole table, and then we click on conditional formatting, and then we can select what type of formatting we want. Mm, mm, you can highlight cells based on greater than, it should be greater than, let me say the amount should be greater than 1 million as we said, or less than or equal to, as well as we can use top bottom rules like the top 100 items, the top 10 items, just like that. But let us select greater than. It's greater than. Okay, let me see. You know what? Let's highlight duplicate values. Hold. And yeah, let's highlight all duplicate values. Let's just for test, just for demonstration. Values that appear twice. Now, if you see, let us set it to, can change the color. Let's use green. I think green is okay. Or let me see. Let's use green. Green highlights. Okay. Now, it is not okay like that. It is your. It is yes. It is usually okay, but it does not really gives the information that you need. So let's go ahead and format it by either adding data bars. Data bars means it puts in like a bar chart that tells you how do I put it? Like for example, you can visualize it here. You can visualize it at the right. As I'm hovering over it, you can visualize at the right. Or you can select color scales to give the same color to the same numbers. Or you can select icons. I think icons is best switch is best if you're for a use case for when you're dealing with profit increase, rise, drop. But yeah, I think we should just use color scale. What color scale should we use? Okay, I think we should use this one. Okay, now looking at it, every the same every the same entity has the same color. Whenever we look at a particular color and we look at it somewhere, we just know that they have the same values by default. Yeah, you might think these three are different, and why is it that they have the same color? Why they don't have the same color? This text is in green. Why this text is in black? Even though they are highlighted in yellow, the text here is in black while the text here is in green. See, this differentiates it. All are differentiated. Everything is differentiated. No two things have the same unless they have the same values, like this and this. Also, this and this, and so on. Okay, let's move to the next task. In fact, let's go ahead and remove the formatting. We don't need it. Let's clear all rows. Clear rows from the entire sheet. We don't need it. And at the end, we are told to create a graph to visualize sales trends over months. Visualize sales trends. What do you understand by visualizing sales trends? That, well, that just tells us that how much was sold in January, how much was sold in February, how much was sold in March, how much of laptops were sold in January, how much of laptops sold in February, how much of laptops were sold in March. To do that, you need to insert the graph. What graph? Let's use a bar chart. Or what are we told? Okay, they said a line graph. A line graph. No, let's use a line graph. But to do that, we select the rows. We select the rows, the columns. Sorry, we select the columns that we want to be displayed in the graph. January, February, and March. And then we go to insert, and then we go to line. This is where we get the line graph. We can select whatever kind of line graph we prefer. I think this one is okay. I think this one is okay. Okay. I did a chart title. Looking at it, we see that in January, Series A stands for tablet, Series 1 stands for tablet, Series 2 stands for phone, Series 3 stands for tablet. You see that in January, let me see. You see that in January, Series 2, more of Series 2 were sold. And you see that Series 2 is phone. More phones were sold. And followed by Series 1, which are laptops. Then lastly, tablets. And the same everywhere. February also, more of phones were sold. March also, more phones were sold. I think that is all about it. Now let's save. Let's save the file. Oh, I forgot to save it initially. But don't forget what I said. Whenever you want to save, first of all select the location. Let's go to more locations. Go to browse, and then go to desktop. Our desktop, go to revision tool, and then we save it. What is the name of this analysis? Monthly save analysis of the project. Monthly save analysis. We save it, and we are good to go. Okay, without much time, let's move to the next project. I hope it's all going good. Any difficulties, feel free to send a message in the live chat. I will try my best to check it once in a while. Okay, let's move to web development using HTML and CSS. We are given a code. The project is an interactive portfolio website. We are given a code to write the code, and then here's a task. Modify the code to add a second project section and a contact me section with an email form. Wow. We are told to modify the code. But anyway, let's first of all type the code and see what is displayed on the browser. I'll copy the code, and then I'll just copy the code and paste since there is not much time to type. I paste it here. Let me reduce it, it is too large so you can see very well. Okay, if you take note, if you notice, you will see that every HTML, this is a sample HTML document. HTML is a type of programming language. It is a markup language used in writing documents. Documents which are viewed on browsers. We call them websites. Websites. And this is a format for a basic HTML document. We have, first of all, you see it starts with doc type. This doc type HTML simply tells us that we are using HTML version 5, which is the latest version of HTML. HTML version 5. And well, it is not recommended to put it. We only put it if we are using HTML version 5. And every HTML document is written in tags, and that is how the document is being formatted. The parent tag for HTML or for all HTML document is the HTML tag, and every tag has an opening tag and a closing tag. The difference between the opening tag and the closing tag is at the beginning of the closing tag we have a backward slash, which indicates that it is a closing tag. So we have an opening tag, and then at the end we must have a closing tag. That the HTML tag has two child tags, just two. We have the head tag, which also has its closing tag, and we have the body tag, which also has its closing tag. The head tag is a tag which has information about the document or about the website. Let's call website in this case. The head tag is a tag which has information about the website, while the body tag is a tag which has the website's content, the content of the website. Whatever you see when you open a website is the body of the HTML code. It's found in the body of the HTML code. That's the content of the website. You will barely notice the what is found in the header of the HTML code, because this one is meant for the browser and the Google search engine to understand the document. That's the main purpose of this head. It gives the search engine and the browsers information about the website. Whereas what also the humans or the users need about the website is the content, which is all found in the body. Let's go ahead and save this file. We need to save it as we will save it. Go to desktop, revision 2, and we will save it as what is the name? Interactive portfolio website. Okay, save it as interactive portfolio website dot html. You must specify that it is a .html file. If not, it's not going to be. It's not going to be. the format will be first of all invalid because it has HTML format and a different file extension. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to be a valid file. Okay, we have saved it. Now let's open this file in the browser and see what it shows us. So open the file, you just navigate where it is, go to desktop, go to revision 2. Let me refresh. Since as it wasn't saved, was it saved? No. Let me save it. It wasn't saved. Save. Okay, now it is saved. Let me refresh. What is the problem? Ah, and here is the biggest issue. It saves it somewhere else. You know what? I will just delete it and save it again. That is why it's always advisable to select where you are saving. Let me copy the document once more and copy the title. Save and always make sure you select where you are saving. Where you are saving and the right destination. Open it. .html. Now you can save. Now that it's saved, let's navigate to revision 2, and here we can find the interactive portfolio website. Now let's open the website. Mm, okay, here is our website. Simple. You see that our website has um, a heading which says welcome to my portfolio, a brief description, hello, I am Alex, a web developer passionate about front-end design, and another subheading which says projects, and then a small subheading which says project 1 personal blog, and a small text or description about the blog, very brief, and we have a horizontal line below this text. We have a horizontal line, and zoom in for it to see. Now before going into this body, let me explain you the head. What the head begins. Me explain beginning from the head of the HTML. This head. See, this head contains the title of a document. If you take a look at the website, you see that the title here, up here. This is my portfolio, and this is it, my portfolio. Let me change it to my my portfolio website, and let me see, and then let me refresh the page. You see, it's updated. My portfolio website. That is the title. Also, you see that is where you define the information about the document. The title, the favicon or the favorite icon, the favorite icon of the website. For instance, if you look at YouTube, here is its favorite icon. So the favorite icon of this website is also defined there. For now, we will not define any favorite icon. And looking again, you are going to see style. This is where it defines the style of the HTML document. Let me demonstrate something to you. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to save the document. I'm going to refresh the page. Did you see what happened? It now looks a type in your eyes. Visually unappealing. That is because the styles are removed. Now let me put the styles back. and then I save the document. Then I refresh. The styles are back. That this is what we use to style the document. You know something? Let me add a photo of me to make it more like something professional. To add a photo, I'm going to add it. I'm going to add it here under the hello, or maybe should I add it before? Let me see. No, I'll add it before. Now let's go ahead and add it. To add an image, use the image tag. There are hundreds of tags in HTML. I myself, I don't know all. So you don't need to bother to try to know all the HTML tags. There are millions of tags for everything you need. Yes. But there are frequently used tags. Like for instance, you see the div tag. Div tag is just like a group. You're grouping. You have to group so many tags. You can group it inside a div tag. You have the image tag. You have the heading tag. There are many types of heading tags. You have many types of headings. You have heading 1 to heading 6. Before going ahead with the image, let me demonstrate you the different types of heading. Or you know what? Let me finish with the image. The image tag, you need to specify the source of the image. Well, let me look for the image that I would like to use or would like us to use. Let me go to my images. I would like us to use this image. Let's select the link of the image. Now, paste the link here. Okay, now let's select an alternative text that will be displayed if the image cannot be read. We will select my photo. My photo. And we close the image tag. Here there is one thing to notice. This image tag doesn't have a closing tag like this. Oh, this image tag doesn't have a closing tag like the other tags. Look, the header has a closing header tag. The paragraph has a closing paragraph tag. But this image doesn't need to have a closing image tag. It doesn't have. Why does it not have? Because all what the image needs is a source and the alternative text, and all of it is set as parameters or as set as properties into the the opening tag. Therefore, it doesn't even need the closing tag. Mostly, the closing tag is needed when you have something written in the middle, and that thing is considered to be a child. So when you don't have a child, there's no need for a closing tag. Looking at this header, this heading, there is a child. The child is welcome to my portfolio, and that is why a child is a string. And that is why it has a closing tag and opening tag. Also, the same thing with this paragraph. But this image has no child. It just all it needs is just this is properties. Just specify the source and alternative text, and that is all. It doesn't need any text in between. No. So therefore, it doesn't need any closing tag. And there are some other tags who don't need any closing tag. Okay, we continue. Now let's save it and let's open the browser and let's refresh. There we go. This is the image, but it is too large. It is too large. You know what? Let us make it to be small. We'll do that by adjusting the styles. We do that by adjusting the styles. Let's go to the create a new style, and base style. To create a style, you need to put the name of the tag. It's an image tag, and the image tag, we want the width to be equals to 100 pixels. Oh, you know what? 100 is too small. Let's use 200 pixels, and then we want, it's not supposed to be equals to, it's supposed to be column. Hold on. We want the height to be automatic. We don't want to spoil the height. So when the width is reduced, let the height automatically be set itself, adjust itself based on the width. Okay, and we might also, let me see. Okay, I think that is all. Let's close the bracket. Let's save, and let us refresh. Okay, and there we go. There it is, the image. You know what? We could try to put the image at the left and put this at the right. To do that, we are going to group these two. We group this image and we group this, so that these two appear at the left and this appear at the image appear at the right instead, or the image at the left and this one at the right. I think that is better that way. Let us create a group, call it G, and of course it needs a closing tag because it's going to have a child. Now this div, a closing tag will be at the end here. Why? Because why? This is because we want to group all of this. We want to group all of this, and then we want to group these two, and then we want to send this one this way. We want to send the whole group, the whole group this way, and then this one this other way. So let's go ahead and do it. So now I've grouped all of it. Now let's group these two. Below the image, we select, create another view, closing tab first. Okay. Now we are going to set a class name. What is a class name? In order for us to style components, there are two ways. You can style a component by just using the name of the tag in which the component is found, or we can create a class name, or we create a class name by giving a name to the component we want to style. So it's either we use div, or we create a name for that div, and that name is called a class name. The reason why we are creating a class name is because imagine we're using div. You see, there are many divs. There are many divs. Imagine we're using div. It's going to be a problem, because if you apply a style to a div, it's going to be applied to all of these divs. Since there are many divs, therefore we are going to create a class, or give this div a name. Create a class called container. A class is already created, and it already has a style, and these are the styles which are being used here. And now here we are going to create another class. and call it welcome, welcome class. Now I'm going to give that welcome class style. Let's go ahead and give the styles. In order for you to give the styles, if it is just a company, you put the company name. If it's a class, you put a full stop before the name. Welcome. Open the bracket. Well, this styling, you don't need too much, don't bother too much about the styling for now. I'm just doing it, but I don't think it will. For your exam purpose, I don't think it's going to come in your exam. What's mostly going to come is for you to write the HTML, all of this. So don't too much bother about the styles for now. Even though you might be asked to write styles, you might be asked. So it's still good to know. Yes. Okay, let's continue. We want Well, I'll just go ahead and write the style. It's not need for me to explain too much. I'll just go ahead and write the style. Now let's go ahead and refresh the page. Oops, it's not applied. It should be an issue somewhere. Let me try to modify the styles. Let me see. Let me verify. Nope. Let's see. What's the issue? Hmm. This is above time already. No, let's just forget about it at the moment and proceed. Okay. What were we told to do? We were told to we were told to modify the code to add a second project section and a contact me section with an email form. To add three things, first of all, a second project section. Looking at it, you see that we have the first project. Wait, hold on. Let's go ahead and create a new project and add a description for that project. That's what they are telling us to do. Add a second project section. Now, to do that, we're going to create a title for the project. We'll call it project 2, and we'll call it my personal, how should we call it? Not personal blog. We call it no. Let's use something we have just worked on. Data analysis while using Microsoft Excel. Or to do that, we will just copy this exact thing or paste it, then we'll edit it to save time. This is the whole section. I'm going to copy it and paste it down. And then the group has a class project. The div has a class project. Means it takes all the styles project. And then he has heading, which is heading 3. Oh, I forgot. I need to tell you all the types of heading. Let me do that now before continue. There are 6 types of heading. Okay, let me change this to heading 3. Heading 4, heading 5, heading 5, heading 6, heading 6. There are 6 types of heading only. There is no heading 7. It ends at heading 6. Now, let me show you something. When I save, let me open the browser. I refresh. You see 6 different headings. Well, only this heading is in purple because why is it only this heading in purple? Well, the answer is because a style was created for heading 1. That is why if you want a style to go for all, you will need to add style for heading 2 to heading 6. Or you can create a class and then you or for example, I can create a class and name it heading 1 to use it as a class. I can put full stop here and I come here and I say class equals h1. That's the name of the class. Let me save it. The name of the class is h1, just like the name is container. And let me refresh. Well, all now becomes the color. But you know what? I'll just revert the changes. Wow. Control save. Now, looking at the types of headings, you see that heading 1 is the biggest and heading 6 is the smallest. You have heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. Heading 4 is almost like a normal paragraph. And the only difference is that it is the text is in bold. Then you have heading 5 and you keep it very, very small. Okay, let's remove all of that. We need just heading 1. Here we are using heading 3. P is for paragraph. Whenever you want to write a paragraph, you can write in P. This is project 2. And we said it is data analysis. We name it data analysis. And we said we are going to, the description is that we analyze data on sales. On what sales was it again? Let us see. It was data on monthly sales using Microsoft Excel. Oh, we are going to write monthly sales analysis using Microsoft Excel. Save it, and then I go to the browser and refresh the website, and here we have it, project 2. Here is project 2. Okay, now what is our next task? Okay, we should add a contact me section with an email form. So you want also add a form where the visitor who is visiting the website will put his email and then contact us by sending us a message. Or yes, let us create that form. To create a form in HTML, we use the form tab. Of course, form will have a closing tab because they have child children. Now we are going to let's give the form a title. Let's use heading 2. Let's use heading 2 and let's give a title contact me because that is what it said. A contact me section, yes. Let's give it a title contact me. Closing tag, of course, never to forget. Closing tag. Now let us now put the input for the email. We're told that the form should be an email form. So let us give an input for an email. I'm going to input, use the input tag. Now the input tag has it's almost like no, before putting the input tag we need to give a label to the input. Let us go ahead and do that. Give a label to the input. Of course the label needs to have the closing tag. Like I said, you must not know about this form. It's good to know, but it's what I will advise you to to master is this div, this image, all the headings, the p tag, and what else. I think all of that is okay. And then not to forget the title, the head, the body, HTML, and this doc type HTML if you want to. Yes, of course. It's a good way to put it. Okay. What should be the label? In fact, I don't know where I am. Let the label be email and then take column. And then an input. Let the input. In the input, we're going to put a type as email. Or should we use HTML for? No, I think it is here. Everything. The type is email. The placeholder. Let the placeholder be enter your email. And then close the same way. The same way it's just the same as an image tag. Why? Because oh, I forgot, in an image tag we need this. Yes, we need that. Any tag that doesn't have a closing tag, you end the opening tag with a backward slash, and that's how you end the opening tag. You can look at the as I modified this image tag. You end it the opening tag with a backward slash, same as this input. The input will not need a closing tag. Why? Because it's just a box for you to enter something, and it takes all its parameters here, all its parameters, and we can set the value to be in. That's another way of doing it. Let's save it and let us refresh. Here we go. We have contact me. We have a text, the label which is email, and then we have the input, and in the input the place where you enter your email. And when I start typing, yeah, it goes. But that's not all. I need to select. I need to enter. We need to enter. You need to give a button. After you have entered the email, what should happen? You need to put a button that will submit the email. Let's add a button. So use the button tag to add a button, and of course the button should have a closing tag, because the only reason why a button has a closing tag is because it needs a text that should be displayed on it. So let's say let's write contact me, or let's write send and save. Now let's refresh. See, it appeared sent. Well, nothing was sent because it is not working. It's just a design. You haven't added code behind. You need to add code behind before it can work. Let me enter my email. This is my email, and let me click send. But nothing still happens, and that is it. Let's add a link. So let's say download my my resume. Download your resume is a document that contains all of your experiences, your portfolio, First of all, what is a portfolio? A portfolio is like a folder that has all of your, for instance, you all have a folder that has your birth certificate, your national ID, your advanced level result, O level result, all of those your personal documents. You have a folder that has it. That folder is your portfolio. And not only that, it also has your experiences, the companies you have worked in, the school you have gone to, everything concerning your personal life. Not everything concerning your personal life in that extent. Like everything focusing in the side of jobs. Yes, focusing in terms of having a job or education. But mostly having a job. That is a that is a portfolio. The portfolio is that folder that holds that file. Now, what is your resume? Your resume is a file that summarizes what is in your portfolio. Yeah, your portfolio has so many files, so your resume is just that file that summarizes what is in your portfolio. I think that should be a good way for me to explain it to you. So let us add a link for someone to download the resume. We are going to add a text. Let's say download resume here. Let's, let's put a paragraph, put a p tag, and then write. You have to close that p tag and write download resume here. One that when the person clicks on here, he should download the resume. Let's save it. Let's refresh. Here you have it. Download resume here. We want that when the person clicks on here, you should download the resume. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to make here a link so that the person can click on it. To make here a link, we're going to add a link inside this page now. To add a link, we're going to use an, an A tag. That's the tag we use to add a link, which is an important tag you should know. The A tag. The A tag also has a closing A tag. The A tag has a closing tag. So for you, at least you should know the important tags that don't have closing tag. All tags have closing tags, but the tags that don't need closing tags are images, inputs. Just know those ones for now. You can put closing tag, but you don't need it. This is the format to put a link. Now you need to put the reference, the link, or the what is the link that the A tag is the tag for the link, but what is the link actually? You use the href. Href is reference equals to, let's link it to my actual resume. I'm going to link it to a document. Or should we link it to a website? No, let's link it to a document in my computer. So that when you click on it, the document will be downloaded. Let's go to documents and my personal documents. This is my portfolio, my personal document. Let's go to, this is my resume. I'll copy the link and then we go back and I'll paste the link. To paste the link, I use Control V. And to copy the link, I use Control C. Look in the keyboard, you see C and V are close to each other. Control C is to copy, Control V is to paste. Okay, now that I have specified the link, I can now write whatsoever should be displayed. I'm going to remove this here, and I'm going to paste it here. Why? Okay, let's say Control S. Sorry, Control S. And be sure everything is going well. Okay, you save it by pressing Control S. Now let's refresh the browser. Here you have it. Here is the link. Now if I click on the link, it's going to download my resume because it is a file. You see, it has opened the file. Wait. No, no, I don't want to go to parameters. This is my resume. I can download it, but I don't want to do anything with it. Let's close it. Oh, I closed the website. We open the website back, and let's go back to the website. There is something I need to. Let's set the target to be blank. You notice that. Let me explain why. You notice that when I click on the link, the document opened in the very tab, but I don't want it to be that way. I want it to open in another tab so that I can continue seeing my website. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll go back to the A tag in the opening tag of the A tag where I set the properties. I'm going to set the target to be blank. I save it with Control S. I open the browser and I refresh. Now when I click, you see it opens the new page and I still have the two. There are multiple options I can do. I can also set repair equals no repair. Well, that one is not important for now, but we mostly use it. It's something we mostly use. Clicking on new text of the new tab, and that is it. Now let me add a link to a website. Let me link it to my website. Let's do it. You know what? I'll just copy the whole paragraph and then I'll paste it there. And this time I will not say download resume, I'll say visit website, and in the link, you know what? I don't want to, you know what? I don't want to use a paragraph. I just want to use a link only. And in the link, I'll put visit website. Whatever text you write inside as a child in the link tag, that is a text that will be displayed. That is a text that will be clickable, sorry. Just like a button. Whatever text you write in a button tag, the text that will be clickable and will be seen on the button. Visit my website. So I think it's better that way. And the link, I need to change the link. Let me go to my website and Control C. And let me change the link. Now let me save. Control S and let me refresh, and there you can see this is my website. Oh, there should be an issue. Oh, I got this out of this div, and this div is the div which has a class container, where this class container has these styles, and you see everything inside that div or that group is well formatted. But now that I wrote it out of the group, it goes out of the format. Let me put it back inside. Let me continue. Let me put it back inside. So to cut, I can copy it, but I can also cut it. To cut means to copy and remove. So I copy and I remove what is the existing one. To cut it might be useful to you. Okay, now let me save, and then I refresh the page. Okay, and there you have it. If I click visit my website, if you open my website in a new tab, why in a new tab? Because I set a target to a blank. Well, it is not so necessary. It is your option. It's your opinion. Setting the referral or not referral is also your based on you what you want. What is necessary is for you to set the link. You set the link. and it is in an href. Okay, here is the website, and download resume. There is the resume and everything. Mm. Okay, I think with that we are good to go. I think with that we are all good with HTML. Let's proceed to programming since as we have no much time. Hmm. Okay, we have another task in HTML. We are given what students see in the browser, but now we are saying we should rebuild this thing exactly. Write the HTML and CSS code to generate this output. So we want us to rebuild this thing. Well, there's not much time, but let's go ahead and do it. No, we'll keep it for future. Let's go to programming. It's very important. We'll keep this one for future. Okay, let me close the website, our website. Now, going to programming. Since there is not much time, we are going to work only on the first task, which is to write this code and run it. And we are told to modify the code to include a subtraction function. First of all, let's copy the code. We open dev C++, which is the one we use in school. And now let's paste the code. Because we don't have time to write, we are too lazy to write. Okay, now let's compile it first and run the code. To compile it, they'll ask us to save. Right. Let's select where we want to save it in the desktop, and where in the version 2 we will save it as, what is the name, enhance calculator and function handling. Okay, that's the project's name. Enhance calculator and function handling. There is something you should know. Same as in the HTML. In the HTML, whenever you are dealing with programming, always make sure you specify the extension of the file at the end of the name. You must put dot C if it's a C program, dot HTML if it's an HTML program, dot whatsoever if it is whatsoever. If it's Microsoft Word, you don't need to stress yourself doing it. It does it. It's a document, it does it automatically. Access the same thing, Excel the same thing. But when it comes to programming, be it HTML, CSS, JavaScript, C programming, C++, always make sure at the end you put the extension, dot the extension. We are in C programming, so we'll put dot C. Now we save it. Okay, now that it has been saved, it is compiling. It has compiled with 0 errors. Now let's run what we compiled to know what the program is about. Enter two numbers. Two numbers. Okay, let's enter 12. We give a space and we enter 4. Now we press enter. Sum equals 16. Very good. Sum of 12, and it's true. The sum of 12 and 4 is 16. Program works well. Now, what does the program do? Okay, to explain that, let me. You know what? I'm going to open the windows into. Let me save this way, and then I run it again, and I open this one this way. Let me delete this one. I zoom in. I hope it's clear and visible. Okay, now this is the code. This is the output. Let's explain this code. First of all, When you run the code, why do you see the first thing enter two numbers? What is the use of all of these things behind before they add two numbers? First of all, let us finish. Let's put a P5 and then let's give the space. It said two numbers. That is why we are giving two numbers. Let's give a space. Begin. Enter. Sum is 8. Okay. Now let me explain all the magic that goes behind. First of all, programming. As I said when we were working with HTML, every programming language has its syntax. I explained to you the syntax of HTML. Now we are in C. C has a syntax. C is a procedural programming language or a functional programming language. Just as I told you that HTML is a hypertext. Sorry, HTML is a markup language. The full meaning of HTML is hypertext markup language. So HTML is a markup programming language. CSS, what we use to write those styles inside an HTML style tag is CSS. CSS is a styling language. Styling language. CSS stands for cascading style sheet. We use CSS programming language to write, or no, let's say styling language to write those styles that you saw. Now, as I said, C is a functional language or a procedural language. No matter how you call it, functional or procedural, it's the same thing. Which means you write the program in functions. If you look at it, let me minimize this. These are two functions. You see, all of the codes are in functions. All of the codes are in functions. You write the program in functions. If you write a program out of functions, it will not be really considered unless it is called in a function. It's not like you'll give an error, or not give an error. If it is, unless as far as that's a good syntax, it will not give an error. But the thing is, it will not be used at all. It will just be like it's per line without no use until it is called in a function. Okay, now um why do we have this include stdio.h? First of all, looking at this you see that there's some kind of things that you don't even understand. What is the meaning of printf? What's the meaning of scanf? What's the meaning of return zero? All of these things, what does it mean? You don't know the meaning. Well, this is the meaning. Anyway, I myself I don't know the meaning, but they found in a dictionary. The name of that dictionary is, we call it in programming, a library. These are functions itself, just like this. It's a function. This is a function. So this printf, scanf are functions. Sorry, this printf and scanf are functions, and they are functions that are built-in functions. That means they come with C. The developers of C created the functions to be used globally. You can create your own function by creating your own library. A library is like a dictionary which defines the meaning of a function. Why do we need a library to define the meaning of a function? If us ourselves we don't understand the meaning of this printf scanf, which means a compiler which compiles the code is not going to understand. The next question, what is a compiler? Remember, when you were taught in class, you were told that C program is a high-level programming language. C program is a high-level programming language, which means it cannot be understood by a computer. Well, it cannot also be understood by a human being, but if you study it as a human being, you can understand it. And it is more likely to be understood by a human being than by a computer. A computer cannot understand it. What a computer understands is zeros and ones. What a classical computer understands, because there are different types of computers. There's a there is a quantum computer which doesn't operate in zeros and ones but operates in quantum states. That one is a different field in computer engineering. Let's focus on classical computers, the popularly known computers. The classical computers only understand zeros and ones. That is their language. Those zeros and ones, you might be a question: how do computers understand zeros and ones? Well, those zeros and ones are like instructions. When it is a zero, no, we are taught logic gates in school. You see that a logic gate, the input can either be 0 or 1. I mean, one input can either be 0 or 1. If it takes two input, one of the inputs can either be 0 or 1. The other one can either be 0 or 1. And that is the use, and that is how the computer uses to understand the zeros and ones. So when the compiler translates this code into the zeros and ones, when the computer when it is a 0, it goes as input to whatsoever logic gate in the computer circuit. When it's a 1, it goes as input to whatsoever logic gate. And as the inputs are going, outputs are generated based on the type of operation and based on the type of, just like that. It is the zeros and ones are the inputs of the logic gates, like the AND gate, the OR gate, the XOR gate, and the whatsoever gate, the NAND gate, and also the complex gates built using the simple gate inside, all embedded into your system, like your RAM, your CPU, your whatsoever. Now all of those things are made up of gates, made of those logic gates that you were taught like that. Yes. Now this a compiler is just a program that translates this high level language into a low level language, into the machine language, sorry, not into low level, because there are types of low level languages. You have the assembly language, which is a low level language, but the computer does not still understand it. Yes. So the compiler is a program that translates a high level language into the machine language, which is zeros and ones. And an interpreter does the same as a compiler, in the sense that it also translates a high level programming language into a machine language, zeros and ones. But now what's the difference between the interpreter and a compiler? Well, here is a difference. You know that there are 5 different types of high level programming languages. You have the procedural programming languages, which is like C programming language. You have the markup language, which is like a HTML. You have the styling language, which is like a CSS. You have object-oriented programming language, which deals with classes like JavaScript, whatsoever. Those big languages that they use in the engineering fields. Even though these other ones are also used, C is also used, but okay. We also have structured query language. Structured query language is SQL. The SQL as I showed you when we were in the database, Microsoft Access. That is another type of programming language. Now, um, functional programming languages use compilers. Why? Um, um, Object-oriented languages, programming languages use interpreters to translate their code. All are programs. Compilers and interpreters are programs. The difference is that a compiler is, first of all, one difference is that compiler is used by these procedural programming languages like C and C++. No, let me put C++ aside. Let me say C and Pascal. And then interpreters are used by object-oriented programming languages like Java or Python or PHP. Yes. Now, another difference is that which is a great difference. Compilers, how compilers work is that a compiler reads the whole code It reads the whole code. It browses through the whole code and it understands it. It browses through the whole code and it understands it before it translates it. While an interpreter does it line by line. It reads this line, it translates, it goes to line 2. It reads, it translates, goes to line 3. It reads, it translates, goes to line 4. It reads it just like that. The compiler reads the whole code and then it translates. With an interpreter does it line by line. That is the main difference between a compiler and an interpreter. And due to the fact that, and that is when you can now know when to use which one. Due to whatsoever, I don't know, you can know the advantages of this and the disadvantages of that. Okay, now let's go ahead. As I was saying, the compiler needs to understand the meaning of each of these: printf, scanf, printf, and all of that is found in this dictionary. But let me open this file. This stdio.h stands for standard input output. This is the standard input output library. Input output. What is the input? Scanf is an input function. Printf is an output function. So these are the type of input and output it's talking about. Why is printing an output function? Because it prints to the screen. Look at enter two numbers. Enter two numbers. What's the next line is printed? Sum 8. Sum 8. You see, it prints. This is the function that that handles the printing. Whatever is printed in the screen is handled by this function. Printf. While the scanf is for input. Okay, let me open this file. stdio.h. To open it, I click on control and I click on, since as it is fine, here I see a link. I click on control and I click on it. It will take me to the page. And you will open the file. It is a link. It's a link. So I click on it and it opens. This is the code. See, the code is a very long code. 1561 lines of code. Can you write that amount of code? Yes, you can. If you are a pro. Now let's look for this printf. To be scrolling through 1500 lines of code is going to take years. So let's just click on find. And what should we find? We find print printf. Find printf. Let's match whole word. Find printf. Wow. Okay. As you can see, this is a function that handles the printf, and this is the code behind it. So this printf takes in its arguments, or it takes in input, it processes the input, and then it returns an output. That is the work of a function. It takes input, processes the input, and then it returns an output. And the output is what is used. Now let's look for scanf. This is a function that handles scanf. The same thing. It takes input, it it performs operations based on the input, then it returns the output. Okay, let's close this file. It's not important for now. Okay, now that we have seen that this is found in this dictionary or in the library, because we use library in terms of programming. I'm only calling it a dictionary because I want you to understand. We call it a library. Now that we know that it's from that library, a compiler also is going to, whenever a compiler meets it, is going to go back. It's going to check if a library is imported, and it's going to now go to the library and check if the word is there. When it finds it, it will understand what should be done, and then it will come now and do whatsoever it has to do. That is it. Now, let's explain this code line by line. First of all, let's explain these two functions. Looking there, you see that there are two functions, the add function and the main function. The main function is the default function of the C programming language. Every programming language has a default function, a function which is like the main man, the main party man now. Looking at it, you see that his name is main. That just tells you that it's the main function. Like any you can write 10,000 functions. You can write 10,000 functions, but all of that functions must be used into the main function. Like for instance, this is the add function. If this add function is not used here, it's going to be it's just going to be useless. It must be used into the main function. You must call it inside the main function for it to have use. If not, it's going to be useless. Now that is inside the main function, you can say it was used. If it's not inside, you will say it is not used. But it will be compiled. It's not like it will not be compiled. It will be compiled, but it will not going to be used. Okay. Now let me explain to you the format of a function. In fact, let me open it back. As I was explaining using the printf, the function has input. It processes the input, then it returns an output. The one has no processes inside, so but this is not a problem. It takes input. This one takes no input, which is not so a problem. There's no law that it says it must take an input. The same thing here, there's no law that says it must have processes inside or operations. But it's better to call it operations. And instead of input, it's better to call it arguments. So I'll call it arguments and I'll call it uh, operations, not processes. The one has no arguments. It has its operations, then it returns a value. It returns an output. Okay. Every function must have a name because if it does not have a name, how do you call it? Because printf was called because of his name. Add was called here because of his name. And when you call it, you now have to put in the input. Add has two inputs, two arguments, sorry, num1 and num2. Why? Because it was specified here, two arguments. It is separated by a comma to tell us that there are two arguments. If there was another comma here and another argument here, we show three arguments. But now it shows two arguments, this comma this. Why do you say two things but I'm saying one is I'm seeing four things inside and I'm saying two arguments? Or explain that. First of all, this argument is a variable. What is a variable? In programming, a variable is like it's like that you're telling the RAM to keep a memory location. But you're saying that the computer should keep a memory to keep some space in the RAM. Temporary. I say RAM means it's the temporary space. You should keep some space in the RAM and label it A. So when you say int, int stands for integer. The data type. Remember when we were working with data types in Access. When you're working with data, it's good to always specify the type of data. Like how we're working in Microsoft Access in the library management system. Specifying the type of data does for helps for validation and correctness of the data and so on. Okay. Now in here stands for integer. If it's a floating point number is a decimal number now. Decimal or floating point number. You use float. If it's a character, use char, 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 char. If it is a what should we say? If it is a boolean, use bool. If it is a short integer, use short. If it's a long integer, use long. integer is just a general. Long integer is like 3 million or 3 billion. While short integer is like 5,110. These are short integers. Negative 7, negative 10, negative 500, negative 1,000. Once you get to negative 7 million, it becomes a long integer, and you can use long. Okay. Now there are many other data types. There are many. Those are the most frequently used. We also have double. Double is a decimal number. You can use double, you can use float. All are decimal numbers. Okay. Now int int a means that let the computer create a location in a memory and label it a. A is a variable. Variable means that it is something that holds data. It holds data. For instance, when you are solving mathematics and you say x equals 12, that x is a variable and x has 12. If you come later and say x equals 13, x will no longer be 12 again, x will now be 13. You see, x is a variable. The value of x is changing. X equals 12, but after you came back and said x equals 13, then you come back and say x equals negative 2. X is changing. Then you can say x equals 0, or you can say x equals empty. Well, in mathematics, you say x equals undefined, which is the same as in programming. X equals undefined means x has nothing, or x equals null means x has nothing. Okay, that is the same thing. Int a means the data type of a means the type of data a should hold is integer, only integer. If I put a string, it will show error. Now, int b should create a location in a memory and label it b, which is going to store integers. If I input a character, it's going to show an error. It wants only integers in that location. And whatsoever operation, there are no operations in this function, but it returns a plus b. So it's just a simple function that adds a and b. So it takes as argument a, which is an integer, takes an argument b, which is an integer. If it's a character, if you input a character, it will show an error because it must be an integer. And then it returns the output. It must return something. So as I was explaining, a function must have its argument, the operations, and then a return. This one doesn't have the operation. The operation is 0. You can see add operations. It does not mean that you cannot add. You can add operation if you want to, but here it is not added, which means the number of operations are 0. A function must have a name. A function must have a data type. You see, a variable has a data type, a function also has a data type. Data type of the function is is a type of data that is being returned. You see, the function must return something. And what is the type of data that is being returned? That thing must have a type. The type of data is, yeah, it must be an integer. If you add two integers, the answer must be an integer now. So of course the data type is integer. So it returns a plus b, which is an integer also. Now let's go to the main function. The main function already has its default format. You cannot change it. The default format is that it must return nothing. In C programming, nothing, you use 0 for nothing. Return nothing, which means return 0. In other programming languages, you can use null. You can use undefined, but it's good to use null. But in C, we use 0. Now, the main function takes nothing as argument, nothing at all. It takes nothing as argument, and it must return 0. And since as it returns 0, 0 is an integer, and therefore the data type of the main function must be int. That's why it always has int main return 0. And now we have, looking at it, it has operations in it. What are its operations? It says int num1 num2. What does this mean? Can you guess? Well, it's the same as this int a and int b. Tells a computer that create a location in the memory and label it num1, but it should hold integers. The same thing num2, but it should hold integers. Comma means that two different. Yes, they're two different. And one thing, every line must end with a semicolon. If a line doesn't have a semicolon, it will display an error. In C program language, every line must end with a semicolon, except a function. Look, this is a function. It doesn't need to end with a semicolon. It doesn't end with a semicolon. This one doesn't end with a semicolon. But a line inside, every line must end with a semicolon. And that is where they will use to trick you, those who are doing ordinary level and those who are doing advanced level. They will come here and they will remove a semicolon and they will tell you to correct the code. They will come here and they will remove this thing. They might come here and they will remove t in the place of printf. They might come here in the place of int and they remove I. They might come here in the main function and they add something void. And you'll be thinking that it is wrong. No, it is not wrong. Void just simply means that it takes no argument. So whether I put void here or not, void means it takes no argument. So whether I put void here or not, nothing changes. Void means nothing. Now, printf, that int f, the function that is defined in this library, it prints two numbers. It prints it prints a string. It takes as arguments. You see, a function has arguments into this circular bracelet, and after the circular bracelet, you have this curly bracelet where the operations and the return are in. So the function has a name, data type of the return, the name, the curly bracelet which has the arguments in it, and then the circular bracelet which has the arguments in it, and then the curly bracelet. Let me be sure everything is good. Okay, it seems everything is going well. Okay, please feel free to send a message if you're facing difficulties. Please feel free to send a message. That is the only way I can know that you're facing difficulties. And also feel free to rewind and go behind, go in front, to skip as you like. This video will be in YouTube forever, so you can go and come back maybe next year and try to maybe next year so far next week and try to refreshen up. Yes, maybe in future we'll still have upcoming sessions, but you might want to maybe tomorrow morning you want to just refreshen up before entering the hall. You can go to and be watching the video and skipping as you like. Even if I'm speaking too fast, you can. I'm speaking too fast in YouTube. There is the gear icon in YouTube. You find the gear icon here. Let me see if I can change it. You see, you found a gear icon where you click on it, you will see speed, playback speed. You can select the speed. You can reduce the speed if I'm talking too fast. You can increase it if I'm speaking too slow. If you are not understanding what I'm saying, maybe I'm speaking wrong grammar, you can set captions. Set captions. CC is going to appear. CC. You can click on the CC. If it appears, I don't think it will appear for everyone. Okay. Go back. Okay. Um. Printf takes in enter two numbers as an argument. Since as it is the arguments are a string, we put them inside double bracelets. Okay. Enter two numbers. And here it displays. It prints it out. Enter two numbers. But now, let me close it again. Let me run this again to demonstrate you something. You notice that it printed out enter two numbers and it's waiting. Why did it continue printing? That is because we have a scanf. I told you that a scanf is an input function. Function that handles inputting, which means you when you write down when you specify When you are putting down the function, you specify. Anyway, let me explain it this way. With this function, the computer understands that it should wait for you to input something. This printf, the computer understands that it should print something to the screen. This scanf, the computer is waiting to scan something from the keyboard. It's waiting for you to input something from the keyboard. That is the only way you can input something through the keyboard. Yes, you cannot use voice. You cannot use the fingers. You cannot use the keyboard. You cannot use the mouse. Even if you are using the mouse, you still use the keyboard. So it's going to wait for something from your keyboard. And what is that thing that it is waiting for? Well, scanf has two parameters or more. You see here it has more, but anyway, the first parameter it defines the data type that you're scanning. The percentage D is another way to call data type. It's int. Percentage D stands for int. If it is float, like if it is float, I'm going to use percentage f. If it is double, I'm going to use you can use percentage f, you can use percentage whatsoever. If it is car, I'm going to use percentage c. If it is bull, for bull, what do you use? I am not sure at the moment. Okay, for int, we use percentage. We use percentage I or percentage d. For double, I also think you can use percentage d. For I think for bull, it should be percentage b. If I'm not mistaken, I have forgotten. And then for a string, this is how you define a string. You can put the size of the string. For string, use percentage s. And this is how you define. There are many data types, as I explained to you. There are many data types. You have dates, you have whatsoever, like how we saw in the library management system, database. Now, the C programming sees a character as an array of strings. C programming does not have a string data type. It sees a character as an array of strings. That's why we use character, and then we put this bracelet, or put a size of the array. Array is just a list, Sorry, it sees a string as an array of characters, not a character as an array of string. A string as an array of characters. So, okay, with that said, now percentage G, I tell the computer that scan an integer, scan another integer, so scan two integers, and then store the first integer in memory location. This ampersand stands for memory location. Store it in memory location number 1. Store the second in memory location number 2. Remember, int number 1, number 2 means you should create a memory location and label it number 1, create a memory location and label it number 2, where each memory location only takes integers. So scan an integer and scan two integers, where you save the first integer in memory location 1 and save the second integer in memory location 2. Simple. That's why it is waiting for two integers. If I enter 1, press 1 integer, let me enter 125, enter. It is still waiting for the second. I need to click on maybe 0, then now it sums the two. You understand now? It's waiting for two integers. Now, let me try to enter a character instead of an integer. And we see. Let me zoom out. Let me enter C and then let me enter 56. This, there should be an issue. Why should it add C and 56? And why should the answer be 16? It is supposed to give an error. It isn't supposed to be add at all. But anyway, why will C plus 56 give you 16? Doesn't make sense. No. Now, let me run it back. Looking at this, we see that print. We see the, after it has been scanned 12 for sorry 12, it adds the two numbers. It displays the sum. After it has waited for the input. After it has waited for the input, the next thing it does is it prints f sum equals percentage g. Period sum percentage g, which simply means that sum integer, an integer, that sum is an integer. It's not going to print out percentage g. It is so sensitive that it knows that percentage g stands for integer. It says f stands for string. It says c stands for character. So sum percentage g, it knows that it should print percentage, should print an integer. And this stands for next line. Slash n stands for next line. This slash means that forget about whatsoever is here. Slash stands for carriage. Carriage. Forget about whatsoever is here. It should not be considered while printing. That's just what it means. And now, when you add n there, it means next line. If you add t, t means tab. Tab is 8 spaces or 4 spaces. By default, it is 8 spaces. Or some apps, it is some platforms, it is 4 spaces. N stands for new line. Means after printing, you should go to a new line. That's why you see this space here. This is the new line you went to before exiting. Because after the new line, it sort of returns 0. So return 0 means exited. Now, you said it should print. Look at it. There is a difference between these two print statements. This print statement is more complex than this one. This one just said enter two numbers, but this one said print a sum, an integer. But he also has other things. This thing that he has here, it is trying to specify what integer he has to print. If you don't specify it, it will not know what integer he has to print, and it might even print out a percentage g, or I don't know, it might print out empty air. He needs to know what integer he has to print, so you need to specify what integer you have to print. But now, what do we want to print? We want to print the sum of number 1 and number 2. And how do we get the sum of number 2? By adding the two now. And now we remember now we created an add function. Just like how we have a print function that we are using. We also have created an add function which adds the two numbers. So we can just use the add function. We use it by just simply just writing the name and print it. Just the same like this. Print function and opening bracelet and this, and then we close like this. The same thing. The add function, we call add, we put the arguments inside. Remember, it takes two arguments, a and b, which are integers. So it takes number 1 and number 2, which are the integers, which is what the computer scan, what you inputted. It takes it, and then when the compiler reaches here, it sees this at, that is when now it comes here and now sees that, okay, what should I do? I should return a plus b. But what is a? A is num1. And what is b? B is num2. So it returns num1 plus num2. What is num1 plus num2? This is the answer. The percentage g, the integer that I wanted it to print. What if I wanted to print it in decimal form? I'm going to print percentage point something f. I can say 0.2f. and this will no longer be int. This is going to be float or double. Let's use float. Why? It's a floating point number. It's a floating point number. So we're going to use percentage %f. Now let's save it. Control S. Close this one. Let's run and compile. Let's enter 4, 5. You see, it gives us decimal numbers. What if we want to specify the decimal points? We can now put point, the number of decimal points. 3. No, let's set it to 2. Now let's compile and run. 4, 5, enter. See, gives it in 2 decimal points. What about 1? Let's change it to 1. Think 1 will be better. Compile and run. 4, 5. And there we have it. Okay. We are told, remember, that's the end. But we were told to add a subtraction function. We haven't done it. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's add a subtraction function. And then we end it. We call it today. Let's add a subtraction function. Let's go ahead and then let's use this time let's use double. And let's call it subtract. You can give it any name. If it's an error, it's no problem. It's not follow the spelling. But it's good to just spell it correctly for visual. I mean, for normally, why would we want to spell it wrong? Now to subtract, we have to take two arguments, int a and int b. So to create a memory location a and label it a, then create another memory location and label it e. This time I'll not write it same as the add function. Let me do something else. I'm going to add a int difference equals to a minus b. Always end with a semicolon. Why did I use int? No, let me use float. Or let me use double. Now, let us return what we want to return. Let us return difference. What's the difference between this? It's just the same thing. Here in the return we directly wrote a plus b, but here we set the a minus b into another variable named difference. So double, create a memory location and label it difference, which has data type double. So it's a very simply just create a variable. A variable takes this operation and then we are returning the variable. So each time we are returning difference, we are returning a minus b. Now for the printf also we are going to use something different. Let's say lot. But let's use c. Let's use float here and use and say let's continue with double and we say if difference equals to subtract 1 and 2. There we go. And now let us print This difference brings different differences. Percentage, who can guess? Well, we can use percentage D, we can use percentage F. Let's use percentage D. Um, let us put a new line. Sorry, it's the bucket slash and default. And we have to specify what the float is. What number are we to display? I want to display different, and that's it. We end with a semicolon. Now, what's the difference between this and this? It is the same thing. It's just that here we just added, we call the function directly inside here. We could also as well call this subtract directly inside here. But what we do is we store the value of the subtract in the memory location difference or in the variable difference. We set the variable to be, we set the value of subtract into this variable, and we are calling the variable, which is the same thing. We just do it indirectly rather than doing it directly. Now let's run and compare. It says an error. Who can guess where the error is? It has already highlighted the line where the error is. The error is from here. Anyway, let us read the error. It says line 18, column 5. This is line 18. So you already know the line. Column 5, just the numeral column 5 is around here. Explicit declaration of function print. Did you mean print f? See, it does already give you the correction. And that is the correction. I already corrected it, print f. And that's all. Now, let me run and compile. It works perfectly. Now let's try 5 and 4. Enter. Why is the difference 0? 5 minus 4 is supposed to be 1. There is an issue somewhere. Let's repair that issue. First of all, let's check the spelling. Let's be sure that this difference, let's be sure that this subtract and this subtract have different spelling. Okay. Now, we should have this different and this difference have different spelling. Now, we said double C equals A minus B and return C. So we have subtract number one is A and number two is B. So we need to take number one minus number two and store it in the variable C, and then it returns the variable C. Okay, the variable C is what is returned. So when we call this function, it should return with the difference. And as it's returned it is now stored. We said it should be stored in a variable difference, and it is now stored, and we are printing out the value difference. Let's try it one more time. What should be the issue? Let's use 12 and 6. Why does it show 0? Mm, let me try to change this and use percentage F, and then that's 12 and 5. Ah, okay, it seems the issue was in the type of the way we define what we want to print out. Instead of defining we want to print a decimal, we just wrote percentage G instead. Okay, now the decimal point is too long. Let's add decimal places. Let's use one decimal place. You could still use zero decimal places. But let's use zero decimal. Let's compare and run. Let's close the first one. 12 and 5. See, zero decimal places. That's it. Okay. Now let's do the last exercise. I'm going to open a new file or open what we worked on yesterday, and then I'm going to set up some errors in the code. Then we are going to debug the errors. So just give me 60 seconds. Give me 60 seconds. I'm going to pause the video and then I will resume afterwards. Just hold on. We are still live. Okay, and we come back live. Now I have just okay, just to be sure it is everything is okay. Just to be sure everything is okay. Yes. Oh, okay. Chinepo said I should be audible. I'm very sorry. I'm only realizing it now. Okay. Thank you, Chinepo. I'll be more audible. Okay. I just this is what we worked on yesterday. We worked on a calculator where you will enter two numbers and you will select the operation that you want, and then it will perform the operation based on what you selected, based on the operation you selected. That was what we worked on yesterday. It's even more complex than what we did today. Well, I plan on doing more complex things today, but due to time, we could not do all. We'll schedule it for some other day. Okay, let us compile the code and run it and see. I have intentionally added errors into the code. I want us to repair the errors because that is what will appear in your GCE examination. Those who are doing ICT and those who are doing computer science ordinary level, this is what you will see. But for those who are doing computer science advanced level, they cannot give you this kind of things. For computer science advanced level, you mostly do this kind of thing. You will create two different functions or five, I mean up to five functions, and then you will now use all the functions. That will mostly what they want you to do, be creating different functions and using them inside the main function to simplify your work. Or they might tell you to write and to transform an algorithm into a code. Those are the kind of things that come in advanced level computer. Like for instance, a factorial algorithm, or I don't know, whatsoever algorithm. I wanted also to do the factorial algorithm today, but time got us short. We'll proceed. This is we'll take this as our final. Let us run and compile this code. Let's compile the code. See, there are so many errors. So many errors. But this is how we are going to resolve the error. Let's begin with the first. Looking here at the bottom, you see there are 10 errors. It shows us compiler 10 errors. Now, it doesn't. Now, the first error is at line 4. What does it tell us? Expected, comma, 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 semicolon, ASM or attribute before num2. So it expected either of these things before num2. But now, which of them is right? It's for you not to look at it and say, hey, you know what? You will now recognize what you wanted to put there, what has to be there. By default, what has to be there? It is a comma, of course. Now, let's recompile it and see if the error space shows. You see, it has disappeared. Now, the next error is at line 7. We now have 6 errors. Next error is at line 7, column 35. Column 35 should be somewhere here, I think. It tells us expected a colon, a semicolon before scanf. You see, it expected a semicolon, but it hasn't had a semicolon. A semicolon indicates the end of a line, but it shows that the line has not ended. Why do you continue with scanf? That is where the problem comes. We are going to put the semicolon. I'm going to compare it again to see. See, that disappeared. Now we have 5 errors. Okay, we move on. At line 11, column 5, it should be somewhere here. It said implicit declaration of function print. Did you mean print f? Sorry. Okay. Yes, at line 11. At line 11. Yes, line 11. Implicit declaration of function print. Did you mean print f? There is supposed to be an f here. Print f. Now we have 4 errors. Line 15 says expected a bracket close before num1. Expected something like the close of a bracket before num1. That's what it tells you, but that is what the compiler tells you, because that is what he knows. But actually, that is not exactly what it is. Based on what we know, is it supposed to be? Are we supposed to put this? Because that's what the compiler tells us to put that. But is that what we're supposed to put? No. Even looking at here, you see, here we have something else. It's supposed to be a comma, because all of it is the same argument. All of it are the arguments of the printf. All of it are the arguments of the printf, and so it has to be separated by a comma. Takes 2 arguments. Now let's compile and run. Let's compile. We now have 3 errors. At line 15 again, we are told that expected semicolon before else. We didn't put a semicolon at the end. Okay, there we go. Compile again. We have just 2 errors now. At line 17, where is I double click on the error and it shows me line 17. Okay. Implicit declaration of function printf. Did you mean printf? Ah, I forgot to put t. Okay. Let's compile and it shows us 0 errors. Now let's run what we compiled. There is still 1 error there, but I'll show you the error after. The compiler cannot know that error. It is due to the syntax. It is a semantic error, not a syntax error. The difference between a semantic error and a syntax error is that a syntax error is the error in formatting. A syntax is the way something is being formatted. Semantics means an error in language, like you are speaking wrong English. Yes, semantic is the error in the language. The syntax is the error in formatting. Or should I say error in language? Semantic error means you're using the wrong thing. It is in the right format, they are using it the wrong way. That is a semantic error. While a syntax error, it means it's a wrong format. You're not using it in the right format. Syntax error, you're using it in the wrong format. While in semantic error, you're using it in the right format but in the wrong way. There is a semantic error there. We will get to it. Now, let us enter first number. Let's enter 2. Enter second number, enter operation. There is a problem somewhere. Why did it not wait for us to enter the second number? Let's go to the section of the code that says enter second number. Here it is. Sorry, here it is at line 9. Enter second number. And remember, the computer has to wait for it to scan. Sorry. At enter first number, the computer has to wait for it to scan. But computer waited for you and you entered an integer correctly, but what you specified here, look, it is wrong. The format is wrong. It's supposed to be an, an integer, but it has to start with percentage to say that it is a data type, but it didn't start with percentage. That's where the problem comes in. So actually the problem is not in second number, but the problem is in first number because it was waiting to scan the first number and it scanned it wrongly. So you had to heavily exit and go to enter operation. You know what? Now let us recompile. In fact, we recompile and run. Now enter first number 5, enter second number 4, enter operation. Let us enter minus. It gives us an error. Sorry. Why does it give us an error? Is the code not supposed to run well? Well, not so fast. Let's go to the section of operation. After you have entered the operation, I don't think there is a problem. Well, oh here there is a problem. In scanf, you need to scan it in memory location. They have not specified memory location. This gives us a problem. So how to specify memory location? So the character entered has to be stored percentage C memory location op, which stands for operation. That is the problem. Now let us run it. Okay, let's go one more time. 12, 5. Enter, let's enter minus again. Result D. But why is the result D? Is it supposed to be 12 minus 5 is 7? Let's where do you think the error can come out? The error cannot be in enter operation because it actually prints a result. Therefore, it should be in printing the result. But in printing a result, we have 4 cases. And therefore, it has to be in the case which deals with plus with a minus. Let's go to the place which deals with minus. You see, it is in the second place, the second line. Else, if up equals to, but why does it have one equal sign? This is a problem. It's a problem. It is not a correct. It's not a correct syntax. It has to be a double. But that is not the error. I just put that one for you to know that it has to be a double equal sign. If you want to use not equal to, you add an exclamation mark in front. If you want to use an, you do like this, double ampersand. If you want to use or, you do like this, double vertical lines. Or is the key directly on top of enter. Directly on top of enter, you are going to find a key. This is the key, but you press shift and you press that key and you get or. The only case where you use a single is when you're using greater than or less than. Those are the only cases where you use single. Any other case, greater than or equal to, you use a double. Okay, here it is. But now the error was not here. The error was in printing. It printed result G. We have already caught the error. It's not supposed to be G. It's supposed to be percentage G. And let's be sure that all of this is fine. Yes, it is fine. Now let's close whatsoever was open. Let's recompile again. Zoom in. 12, enter, 6, enter. Operation minus enter. Wow, it works well. Now let us try test with plus and test with times, and then we test with divided by. Be sure all of our operations are working well. Let us test 1 times 3. Let's use plus first of all. Gives you 4. Okay, now let's test the multiplication. 4, enter, 3, enter, star, enter, 12. Okay, works. Now let's do the division. 12, enter, 7, enter, division, enter. Cool, works. Okay, I think our code is okay. Now to conclude, rather than making it in a way that I have to always exit and run the app and exit and run the app, let's do some modifications. Let's do some modifications. Let us make it to loop. When it is done perform an operation, it should loop. Okay, we're going to use a do while loop. A do while loop, you should do this, and then you should do it while. First of all, we need to set um let's set let's set boolean. Let's set boolean. um, let's set boolean. No, that's not a function. Let us put again. Let's set again, and let's initialize it to true. This is what I want to do. I want to create a loop that after it has we have inputted the values and done it has thoroughly performed the operation and given us the result. It should display that do you want to continue. If you click yes, it should continue. If you click no, it should exit. So if you click yes, it should continue. And if you click yes, we'll set again to be 1. By default, again is 1, that means it should continue. Or in fact, let's not initialize again. We'll set again to be 1, which means we'll continue, but else we'll set again to be 0. Okay. This is again is a boolean. If I take 0 and 1. Okay, now let's add do the open curly braces. Let's remove this one and put it at the end. Now, okay, you should do all of this. Enter while no at the end. After it has printed the result, it should print f If you pinch the screen, do you wish to try again? Do you wish to try again? Yes or no? Okay. You know what? Let's set a let's not use boolean. Let's use character. Set as I talk about yes or no. So why would the character the user should enter yes and user should enter no. And then let's set this same. Then let's just again let's use the answer. In fact, let's just use again. Again. Or another way was waiting on click command again. Anyhow you wish to do it is still valid. Now, do you wish to try again? Yes or no? I give a space and then now let us scan the input. Scan it as percentage C. And what are we scanning? When you scan, what should we say? Memory location again. Okay. Now, while again is equals to yes, and that is all. It should do all of this. Do this. Y again is equals to yes. So once it has done it the first time, it's going to print now. Do you wish to try again? You enter yes. When you enter yes, again becomes yes. Y again is yes, it does it again. If you enter no, it will not do it. Okay. And that's the difference between a do while loop and a while loop. A do while loop, it does it first before it checks the while condition. But a while loop checks the while condition first before it does whatsoever after. You see the difference. So at least a do while loop must perform the operation at least once because it does it first before it checks the condition. So the fact that it does it first means at least it must perform the operation. But a while loop can still go without performing the operation. Since that it checks the condition first, the condition if the condition is not met, it's not going to perform the operation. Anyway, not much talking. Let's compile and run. Enter number 12, enter 15, enter plus, enter. Oh my god, why did it skip? Do you wish to try this? Do you wish to try again? What will the issue be? Oh, sorry. Scan F, percentage C. I don't know why C the steps, but C will always want you to add a space. In case you're doing percentage C, C will always want you to add a space just as it was done here. C will always want you to add a space before percentage C. Only for percentage C. Only for percentage C. For others, it is okay. Okay. Zoom in. 12, 4 plus. Do you wish to try again? Let's select yes. Enter first number. 2, 0. Let's select multiplication. The result is 0. You wish to try again? No. Exit. And here we go. Okay. Let's save this and let's save our order. And we can now close everything. Okay, thank you, students. We have come to an end. I'm so sorry for us taking more than the expected time. In the program, we were supposed to end at 10:30, but due to issues in both network connectivity and whatsoever, we had to start very late at past 8. Okay, but I hope I hope everyone has gotten something at least. I wish you a success in writing. You should not feel, don't be bothered tomorrow. Everything here looks familiar to you already. When you get into the hall, you feel comfort, just feel comfortable. Or whatever you see is similar to whatever is here. Not the same, but similar. At least you'll be able to figure out. At least I wish you all the best, good luck, and I will schedule more sessions in future in preparation for the GCE. Thank you guys for your kind attendance. I see that the perform attendance today was huge, 46. Yesterday it was not stable. It was people were having facing internet connectivity issues. Even I myself. Also today I faced internet connectivity issue, but I had to change my location because I could not take it anymore. Okay. With that said, thank you. We can we can now end the streaming. See you later. I'll give you more info in the next session, but after I'll give you more time to rest. Thank you guys.